Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Jessica Flynn here, owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today I'm going to show you how to make these bow and beaded keychains. They're so much fun to make and they're so easy to do. I'm going to have all the products that you see in this video listed and linked down below in the description box. You're even going to find some discount codes for you there as well. That's enough chit chat for me. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this keychain really has two main elements. We have our acrylic blank and we have the bow. I'm going to start by giving you guys instruction on how I created the acrylic blank. You're going to start with an acrylic blank. I've got all different shapes and sizes here. I'm going to link my source for my acrylic blanks down below. I've got a discount code for you guys with them as well. And you're just going to want to remove the paper backing off of one side of these. Keep in mind if you're working with a blank that has like a text file that requires you to only put it on one specific side so that the letters match up right, pay attention to that because you want to glitter the opposite side first. All right, so once we remove that paper backing, to prep the one side that we're going to apply glitter to first, you want to lightly sand it, then wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel. And then we're going to just tape it to a little piece of cardboard. This is going to help give me more mobility while I'm working with my blank. All right, and so for the glitter side, I've got 30 milliliters of epoxy mixed here. I'm using fast setting epoxy today from Alumilite. And I've got two other medicine cups I'm going to divvy up that 30 milliliters of epoxy into. And then I'm going to add some glitter to my epoxy. This is how I prefer to glitter my acrylic blanks. And you just want to make sure that you don't add too much glitter, but also not too little. So striking that right balance with, glitter saturation is key here. So not too much glitter to where it changes the consistency of the epoxy. And I'm just going to spread that onto the prep side of my blank with the metal stir stick that I use to mix my epoxy and all that. I will list and link all the glitter colors that I'm using today down below in the description box. And really, this is just like frosting a cookie. I've done a few acrylic blank tutorials on my channel before, so I'm not really going to go too far into depth with this process, but I will link some of my older acrylic blank keychain videos down below if you want to check those out as well. Anytime I'm making these acrylic blank keychains, I like to work in larger batches. That way I'm not just making like a teeny tiny amount of epoxy just for one keychain. I'll, try to plan a few different projects so I can get them all done at one time just because they're pretty small and quick to do. Also, I've mentioned in a few of my older videos that I really do not like using UV resin for my keychains. It's definitely faster and easier for some people. I just don't care for it. I never get good results with my UV resin. And so I just prefer to use like fast setting epoxy or even regular 2-part epoxy for that matter. Once I've got my glitter and epoxy spread on these blanks nicely and evenly and everything's all smoothed out, I'm going to hit it with my torch really quick to pop any bubbles. And then I'm going to let these sit to dry for about 4 hours. You want to make sure that you have them on a very level surface to dry. And I am using fast setting epoxy, but you still want to wait like a full 4 hours before you start to mess with these. And remember that your epoxy dry time will vary depending on what brand or type of epoxy you're using. All right, so after the glitter side has dried for 4 hours, I'm ready to start on the decal side of my blank. Anytime you buy these acrylic blanks, they come with the image files. They'll usually email them to you or you can download them from the website. And when you load them into Cricut Design Space or Silhouette, they're perfectly sized for your acrylic blank. So you don't want to resize these at all. What I'm going to do today is I'm just going to select the whole image and click Ungroup because I want to separate all the elements of this image file. I'm going to delete the background because I don't need it. And then I'm just going to separate this Aloha and Summer, and then I will cut this on 2 different colors of vinyl. just to give it like some extra, you know, something something. So I am going to make it the same color though in Cricut Design Space so I can cut it all on the same mat. All right, and then once we've got our decals cut and ready to go, I'm going to prep the decal side of our blank. So we're going to start by removing that remaining protective paper on that, what will be our decal side. Alternatively, if you wanted to put the decal and the glitter all on one side of your blank, you certainly could do that. I just like to do it on like opposite sides so that both sides of my blank have that like domed epoxy finish, okay? And I'm prepping that decal side exactly like I did the glitter side by lightly sanding it, then wiping it off with some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. And now I'm going to weed my decals and get them layered up. I'm going to layer these pretty simply with the same piece of transfer tape so I can transfer them all at one time to my blank. Anytime I'm dealing with like this kind of holographic vinyl or metallic vinyl or anything like that, after I got my transfer tape positioned and applied to my decal, I always like to peel off my paper backing by putting the image face down and then peeling the paper backing off rather than pulling up on the transfer tape. This is going to reduce bubbles and kind of mess ups with your vinyl. Once I got it positioned on the blank, I'm just going to smooth it down and then peel back my transfer tape as close to the blank as possible, again to help reduce bubbles. I'm going to kind of dig out any kind of overlapping vinyl that's on the whole of our blank with this tool that I found in my garage. I don't know, it's some kind of like, I don't know what it's called. I found it in my garage. And then also my craft knife to help clean it up. So don't forget to do that because I've done that where I forgot to clean up that vinyl from the hole and then epoxied over it. You don't want to do that. Before I epoxy over my vinyl side, I want to mask off the glitter side. I'm going to do that really quickly by using liquid latex. I got this tip from Trina with Diamonds and Dust Shop. I'm going to have her YouTube channel linked down below. She's got a great video on how she uses liquid latex with her acrylic blanks. So I'm just going to spread the liquid latex all over the glitter side of our blank with a Q-tip. And I'm going to let this dry. And it only takes about 10-15 minutes to dry. And this is going to ensure that we don't get any like extra epoxy on the wrong side when we're epoxying over that decal. Okay, so I'm just going to retape that blank back to the cardboard that we used earlier with the decal faced up, obviously. And then we're going to spread the clear epoxy over it using, again, that metal stir stick. And we're just going to basically frost it like a cookie with the epoxy and then put this on a level surface to dry for about 4 hours. All right, and then once we're done with the acrylic part of our keychain, I'm going to move on to show you how I created the bow. So here in Cricut Design Space, you're looking at the template that I used to cut that faux leather to assemble our bow. I purchased this template on Etsy, and it's really easy to use template. So you just load it into Cricut Design Space, and it's going to come with default sizing that you see here. And what I was trying to do here was kind of trying to roughly assemble my bow on the screen to get an idea for what the final size of my bow would be. And the way to do that is by looking at the tail length and then adding about 1 inch or so to the top of that for the loops on the top. And those measurements combined will be around about finished size for your bow. I wanted my bow to be about 3 inches, so I kind of kept that in mind while I was trying to resize this. It's really important when you're resizing this that you select all the elements at the same time with the lock proportions on, and then just resize it slightly to make it smaller. You might want to practice on a piece of paper first to double check before you commit to cutting this on your leather. Keep in mind those leather sheets are about 8 inches wide usually, so you'll want to make sure you change the material size on your mat to make sure that all the elements of your template fit onto your leather sheet before you cut it. I also used my deep cutting blade. I have a Cricut Explorer Air 2. I don't have a maker, so I use the deep cutting blade, and I cut this using the metallic leather cut setting in my custom cut setting options. If you don't have a Cricut maker, you will want to look for the faux leather that doesn't have a really fuzzy backing to it. Some of them are thinner than others. I will link down below the ones that I purchased. If you've ever used faux leather before, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's some that just has like a really kind of fluffy backing to it. You don't want that. You want the backing that's kind of smoother because it's thinner and easier to cut. Assembling the bow is really easy. We just peel it off of our cutting mat once it's all cut. And I'm using Gorilla Glue high temp hot glue to assemble this. I like using the high temp hot glue for projects like this because I feel like it has a stronger hold. And assembling the bow is pretty self-explanatory. This template makes it really easy to figure out. You mainly just connect the tabs along the back on both the front and back loop, then stack them, and then you will glue the tail to the back of those loops where the seams meet. Okay, so I don't know if I articulated that very well, but you can see from the video what I'm doing. All right, I also like to glue the edge of those tails down to the back of the loops just to make it a little more, I don't know, like I don't want it so floppy as a keychain, okay? And you can also buy double-sided faux leather. That way all sides of your keychain looks really pretty. You guys, there are so many options for faux leather, like the possibilities are endless. Okay, so now let's get to connecting this to our keychain. We're gonna take that center connector piece there and glue it facing the bottom of our bow, okay? And we're gonna wrap that from the bottom up around to the top. But before we attach it to the back, we're going to loop it through our keychain's jump ring, okay? You wanna have a nice, like, thicker gauge jump ring for your keychain to loop this little bow connector through. Okay, so I just fold up that little connecting piece there so that it fits right through my jump ring. I will link the hardware that I'm using down below in the description box. It's super nice hardware. And you're just gonna pull that through your jump ring, making sure that your keychain is set up on the outside there. And then we'll just loop that around to the back and fasten it with some hot glue, making sure that some of that hot glue that we put down in there does connect with the jump ring itself to create a really secure connection. Careful not to burn your fingers. All right, and so as we're pushing down the connector piece along the back here, we also kind of want to be pulling it as well. It sort of helps if you have some nails here so you're not like burning your thumbs with hot glue as you're doing this. All right, and we just want to make sure everything's nice and tight and secure back there. And pull off any excess like hot glue hairs, and voila, that's it. So now I will say this one turned out to be a little larger than I had wanted it to be. This was kind of my test run. I ended up resizing the smaller ones at about 6 inches wide at the largest part of the bow template. So this largest loop here, this largest piece of the template, I sized that to about 6 inches rather than 6.4, and I ended up liking the size on those better. Honestly, I think it's a really good idea to probably cut this on a piece of like computer paper first, just to test your sizing and make sure that you're happy with it. All right, and now that we have the bow and the acrylic blank done, we're going to get started with our beads. To bead our keychain, I'm using some elastic thread here that I will have linked down below in the description box. And you want to cut a good size length of it. Let's say like, I don't know, maybe just over 12 to 18 inches. And you're going to fold it in half, okay? And thread the two ends of our length of thread through the whole of the acrylic blank, and then take those two ends and thread them through the loop on the other side, okay, to create a secure knot to our blank. Then we're going to take our two ends and we're going to thread them through an embroidery needle with a nice big hole, okay? Once we've got our embroidery needle threaded, we are going to start with our beading. I want to first start by adding a silver like spacer bead at the base. Then we will add our 20 millimeter bubblegum beads. Okay, I got these bubblegum beads from Platinum Mousse Beads. I'm going to have her link down below. She has such a great selection, so many beautiful beads. I'm just going to use 3 beads today. I think if you wanted to use 18 millimeter, you could also do that. The holes on these is like 2 to 3 millimeters, I believe. I'm going to cap off my bubblegum beads with another little silver spacer bead. And then to attach this to our keychain, we're going to loop our thread through the bottom ring of the lobster claw clasp on my keychain hardware. After we loop it through the lobster claw clasp ring thing, we're going to go back down through the hole of the first spacer bead and the first bubblegum bead, okay, to create an attachment to the ring of that lobster claw clasp. And we're going to pull that as tight as we possibly can. This is where it gets a little tricky and where I'm going to kind of struggle explaining this to you guys. But we're going to hold a loop on one side of our beads here, and then we're going to pull our string around the side of our beads and then come back up through that loop that we created, okay? This is going to create a temporary anchor for our beads so they don't move around while we're trying to knot this. Again, you guys, I have a whole beaded keychain tutorial where I go way more into depth on this process. If you're struggling with this, please watch that video. All right, so once we have this anchored down, we're going to tie our knot. So we're going to go over and under on the right side, then we'll go over and under on the left side to create a really good knot. And then we will cut off the excess string, which will hide itself inside the bead. Okay, and that is it. So that's it for the tutorial. These are so much fun to make, you guys. If you make some of these, please tag me because I can't wait to see all the cute little things you guys come up with. But I absolutely love these. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you liked my video, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I upload videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.